I'm going to take you through a thorough tutorial of having a single line plan and doing your daylight analysis using Climate Studio. So right now I have a DWG drawing that I've imported into Rhino, and it's a single line plan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make what we call as a shoebox model, which is just basically a box of one of the spaces that I want to do the daylight analysis of. So make sure first of all your units are consistent. We are working in meters, and that's why this drawing that I received was in millimeters, so I had to rescale it. But first of all, I'm looking at this shoebox model here, or this space, and for that I need to close this. So I'll extract this, I'll make a copy. For that, what I'll do is I will stretch some of these lines, or I can make new lines here. I can trim some of these lines. Make sure you're doing it on a copy, and so I'm just basically trimming some of these lines. Some lines I'm going to join, some lines I might delete. I'm basically making a shoebox so that I'm able to extract this. I'm going to select all of these holding shift, and I am not using the windows right now, as in these window openings, but I'll hold Alt over my movement button in my gumball, and then I'll move it on the side. And for now I'll also close these, so I'll delete all of these. I'll just remember from here that I need to make 3 windows. I'll just close this, and I'll select all of these and I'll join. Okay, so right now this all comes in a one single layer. I hope you know all of the how to make the layers. This is the command, or sorry, this is the tab for layers, and you have all these layers that I've got from my AutoCAD file. But I need you to make some new layers. First, the wall layer is fine. Then there's going to be a roof layer. Then there's going to be a window layer, a shade layer or shading device layer, and a floor layer. Right, so I'm going to be working with these, and no need to change the color for now. Maybe for window I might turn it to some sort of a blue, and the shade could be, let's say, some sort of a green. Floor could be floor, and roof I'm going to leave it as black. So right now if you look at this, this is in the walls layer, which is okay. I will just make an extrusion looking at this, and I'll make an extrusion of 4 meters. Okay, now you can see that the extrusion is itself in a different layer. So I'm going to select this, and you can go here in this tiny toolbar at the bottom, this tab at the bottom, and I can go and put walls. Okay, now what I can do is this joint line that I have at the bottom, I can patch it. Okay, and once I patch this, I can put this in a floor layer. Okay, my floor is black, so it's going to look as gray only, and I can copy it and put this above, and if I select this, I can put this in roof layer. Okay, so I have my shoebox model. Let's now for once make it a different, slightly different color, maybe like an orange. Right. So if I look at this, this is my shoebox model. There is the floor, there is the wall, there is the roof, and the only thing left is now is the windows and maybe a shading device. We put a chhaja. So make sure that all of these are single surfaces. That's why it's better to work from single line plan. None of these should have any thickness. This is all single line surfaces, no thickness at all, no extrusion. So from here we are going to make windows here, 3 windows. Now we're going to make windows. So how do I actually draw on this surface? That's the question. Now how do I do that? There's something known as C-plane. C plane is sort of your active working plane, and right now you can see that the C plane is from the top, so this grid that you see. And when you type C plane, you're going to look at a lot of these different surfaces or different options. I can look at surface or I can look at object. Let's see what object gives us. It's going to give us this, and suddenly our C plane turns here. I can go back to C plane, world, and top to get into my default. So C plane object is where if I want to actually draw on that surface, and C plane world top to get back to the default uh, working plane. So I'm going to type C plane again. I'm going to go to object and click on this surface so that it turns here. And now I can draw 3 triangles for now. I hope you know how to draw a triangle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make one triangle and I'm going to use Alt and do some random spacing here. Maybe you might want to do a proper size rectangle with uh, properly spaced the windows, right? So these rectangles are not perfectly spaced, but I'm going to leave it at that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put split, or I'm going to use trim. It's easier. And my cutting objects are going to be these curves, right? I'm going to hit enter and I'm going to put inside these curves, right? And they are going to become the actual openings, right? And finally, I just realized that we're doing an open window analysis, so we don't need to actually put layers. The next thing is what we can do is we can have these probably polylines, or any way you can draw some sort of a shading device. I'm going to make a inverted U-shaped curve. Once I have that, I'll actually delete the older one. Uh, just make a polyline here, 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 and I'm done. Once I have this, I can probably extrude it, let's say 450 outside, or maybe 1500 outside. We're working in not but meters. So extrude this. This is too much. Let's make it, let's say 600 or something. So I'm going to take this. I can take this probably 600 This looks fine, and I can always sort of select this curve and this curve by using Control Shift and selecting extrusion vertex, kind of move it a little inside. Okay, this looks like a nice sort of fin and a chhaja, and I'll select this and I'll put this into the shading material. I'll click on this, I'll hit copy, and I'll just copy it across the 3. So I have the final thing as well. Now we're going to go to Climate Studio, go here into my daylight availability, and we're going to proceed with doing our daylight analysis. So let me first actually go back to my C plane just to make it default. So C plane, it's not really important, but it's just good to have this to prevent any errors. So C plane, world, and top. World is your default and top is your top view, which is your default when you open Rhino. So right now it's fine. We have all of these in different layers. Don't join, you can join your walls, but don't join your walls with anything like floor or roof. So this is all different layers. Ahead, let's go to this Climate Studio tab, and we'll go and select daylight availability. And there are a lot of standards here, but we're going to set our own very simple standard. I'm going to go to custom, and we're just going to go one tab from top to bottom, one at a time. So this is Bengaluru. If you've not set it, you can always set this by changing this here, or then going into this and actually finding your city here. So I'm going to stick to Bengaluru. In terms of assign materials, when I click on it, I'm going to have different layers. Now these layers are just different layers that we have named it, but we're going to deal with roof, shade, and floor, and also walls. So for walls, I'm going to go inside And when we assign layer for daylight availability, we do not assign the whole material like brick or something. We are going to look at the internal finish. So right now the internal finish I'm going to keep as white, and not, I don't really care. We're not doing a thermal insulation analysis or any of that for daylight. I just need the inner surface. So I know the reflectivity, how much uh, better or worse the material is going to reflect. I don't really care about the thickness or anything else. So for walls, I'm going to look at here, the walls layer. I'm going to click at none, and it's going to take some time and open this opaque material library. I'm going to put as, let's say, plaster. I'm going to put as a, let's say, beige plaster wall, or a light gray plaster facade, or off-white plaster wall works. I can select that. Then this, you can see it kind of shows here. For roof, inside of the roof, because we're looking at inside of the room, I'm going to look at ceiling. Let's say what we have for ceiling. Do we have white ceiling? Yeah, white ceiling generally works for the roof. For window, we don't need anything. We're doing an open window thermal insulation, radiation, sorry, daylight availability, so windows are open. Shade is a chhajja. I can probably take some other color. I can say ceiling, or I can actually say concrete, and have a concrete exterior concrete wall. Let's say I want to have an exposed concrete chhajja. So for shade it is done, and for floor I'm going to look at, let's say, what do we have in granite. So we have granite floor, or say flooring. Let's just look at interior glossy flooring. Let's say this works. So you can look at marble, you can look at granite, you can look at ceramic tile, anything. I'm going to look at this. So our materials thing, we have assigned 4 on 4 layers: walls, roof, shade, and floor. After that, areas. Now this is important. When I click on areas, it's very similar to how you were doing this radiation map. For daylight analysis, I'm going to add all these surfaces and make sure these surfaces are inward. And what does that mean? I'm going to select one. It says select surfaces. I'm going to select this and enter, and it's going to open this thing. I'm going to write is at just roof, or it's better to actually write this as ceiling, because we're looking at inside. And this is my uh, lux levels. You can change the lux levels, the target lux from NBC. If you want to change this, I'm going to leave it at 300. It might be 150, so it's easier for you to achieve your target. 3000 is a lot, but I'm going to just leave it 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. is when the occupancy is happening. So I'm going to not change any of this. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to show up here. Now, if it should appear inside. If in your case, if it appears above, then it's a problem. So it's better that you select this and you flip this. Okay, so that is similarly, we're going to add our walls, and you can already see the walls are kind of little outside. One thing here is, you see this gap? This gap is what my work plane offset. So this is where we are kind of measuring our light intensity. We don't really need to measure it on the surface. You can put it as 1 meter, but I'm going to not change it. It is 400 mm right now. I'm not actually measuring on the surface my lux level, but measuring it outside. So walls, click OK. This is also done. Similarly, I'm going to click chhajja, and I'm actually going to select these 3. Click OK. And for here, I might just need 0.1. I don't need, because chhajja is already very small. I'm going to call it shading. Click OK. Now the problem with my wall is it's outside. I need to flip this surface. So I'll go to walls and I'll type flip. Actually, I can just select the wall and type flip. Okay, moving ahead, we have worked on materials, we have set all of this, we have added areas. You can see these areas here, and you can sort of click on it and select the highlighted area. And finally, we are going to add assets. It's not really necessary. It has 2 options: tubular daylight devices, which we are not using. Trees, we can definitely add trees. This is the ground floor. So I might just, for demonstration purposes, I might add one tree somewhere here. Okay, and it's going to add a tree. And make sure all of these is on ground level. If your surface is somewhere, let's say here. And if you want to get it to ground level, you can type M enter or move and type 0 comma 0 comma 0, so it kind of brings it here and then you can move it, right? So anyway, uh, I've added a tree just to emulate like a ground floor illumination situation, and after that you can always change the tree and whatever size and everything. I think we're done. It says zero daylight devices and one tree, which is okay. And now I'm good to actually run the analysis, so I can click here. You can also go for this very interesting visualization called CSS shadows. Kind of gives you the shadow at any point of the day, which we're not looking at right now, but I'm going to click on analysis and see what happens. It's going to run its analysis and let's see what it shows. Okay, now the analysis has been done. It took me about a minute. You can see that this icon that should appear somewhere on your results panel. If you cannot find it, you can just type CS results panel, and either you can float it outside or you can drag it, and it's better if you kind of keep it somewhere here. So you can see this is the actual workflow panel and this is my results panel. Now there are a lot of things. This is the first iteration, so I'm going to write it I1, and there are a lot of things that are sort of different types of results, but in order to be able to see those results, first we're going to go here and we are going to make a clipping plane. Now clipping plane is different from your C plane. C plane is a work plane where you actually are able to draw and do all the commands, move and all that. Clipping plane is basically cutting through so that you're able to see something within a geometry without destroying or hiding it. So clipping plane asks you to make a rectangle. I'll make a giant rectangle here. And if I click on this rectangle, you can see that as I move, I can see the section and I can see the, instead of this, I can actually go inside and see the floor. Now, you can see that this has this different uh, tiling that's happening here and showing us some data. And if you look at these four tabs, this shows the UDI, this shows SDA, this shows ASE, and this is the average lux. Now, what are these things? If you go to Solema, and I highly recommend you to do that, if you go to Solema's website, that is www.solema.com, go to download or resources documentation, and then on the left side, if you look at workflows, you'll see all of this. You've done site analysis with your sun path and everything, and you've also done radiation map. But here we're looking at daylight availability. And then if I scroll down, we are looking at custom. Remember, we were not using any of the preset standards. We're going to custom, and then we look at all of these things. Now within this, we are looking at the best thing, which is UDI, which is useful daylight illuminance. It basically divides your received lux levels into these four categories. So if you look at any other space, any space, it divides it into these four colors. The blue talks about failing, that is less than 100 lux, and excessive is the pink line. So you can see that every tile has these four colors, and depending on how bigger is one color, it tells you that area is falling under failing, supplemental, autonomous, or excessive. Now what we're looking at here is uh, to sort of maximize autonomous, which means that I don't need to actually rely during the daytime. I don't need to rely on any artificial lighting. Supplemental is that I need it, uh, maybe partially. Failing is that it does not actually uh, you cannot rely in that area for daylight, and excessive is something that you don't want excessive sunlight, so you want to reduce the pinks and you want to maximize the greens, light greens, and these are the different levels. So how do we interpret all this? You can read all of this. I highly recommend at least read the first thing, which is UDI. But if you go here and you'll see that this area that you look around, there's a lot of pinks here, okay, and the rest of it is pretty much green, which is nice. And you can see the same thing here. Anything above pink is excessive daylight which we want to reduce, and most of them here are sort of autonomous, which is nice. And you can also see the number here. The average overall is 90%, but if you look at the floor here, this first index, uh, you can see that UDI failing is very less. UDI supplemental is 2%. UDI autonomous, which is what we want to maximize, this green part, is 90%, and UDI excessive is 6%. So you can see that in the floor, 6% of it has excessive daylight. Now your role as a designer should be to minimize the pink area and maximize the autonomous. Now I would want you to, this is only one iteration, but I highly recommend you to do at least 3 iterations. Work with multiple vertical windows, work with a large giant horizontal window, and then maybe work with square windows of like 2 square windows or 3 square windows. So see in which case you get the maximum as green, and this uh, under the floor category, under this floor surface, the UDIE, if you can minimize this to even let's say 1 or 2% and maximize this to let's say 95%, that will be great. So this is what you should be looking at very roughly. uh, so yeah, I think that should cover, and you should do it for important areas. For example, this one was lying towards the east. If you look at this space is lying towards the north, so you might want to have a large window. Figure out what works for which direction. This particular might require something else because it doesn't have any window. So look at least 3 spaces, and every 3 space try working out 2 to 3 window iterations. So that will actually give you an idea where your UDI is allowing some uniformity in daylighting and it's minimizing your excess daylighting. So yeah, that's how you can do daylighting analysis in Climate Studio. Hope that helps.